How could the Minnesota Wild do in the month of October to get their season started on the right foot? And do we have any concerns heading into the regular season? We find out that and more today on Locked on Wild.
You're Locked on Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked on Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen every day, although, as you have found out this week, your second listen is probably also Locked on Wild as well. We are cruising through two-a-days, gearing up for the season because, let's be honest, the players are doing a lot to get themselves in shape for the regular season grind. So the guy running the daily podcast should probably do something as well just to get into conditioning shape for the regular season. And so two-a-days all week, our Thursday episodes in full swing, and happy to have you along for the ride here for episode 2 for your Thursday. On today's episode of Locked on Wild, we are going to take a look at the first month of the season. We'll plot out how the Wild could realistically do through their first 8 games. We'll also take a look at if there's anything on the roster or any concerns that we have as the season gets started. So a lot to get to here today. Just a reminder as well, Locked on Wild is free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. Seth Topal joined by the alternate captain for Locked on Wild, Zach Zeman. And Zach just chilling out here, gearing up for the start of the season. How's it going, man?
We're finally here. Like, I feel like we've been saying this all off season. It's just like, we're almost there. But now hockey's on. I mean, we've had a couple nights of it now. It's unbelievable. You got several TVs in this room watching it. You know how it goes. But birds are flying high. You know how I feel. We're here. Today's a great night. Today's a great night. Wow. Yeah. Nice. But no, we're ready. I'm so pumped. The Wild play Friday. Today's currently, I don't even know, Thursday. Yeah, geez. Now it's Thursday because it's midnight. But I'm excited. Time's flying by when you're having fun. What do you know about it? Nah, we're here. I'm just so pumped. It's just so relieving to watch hockey and like the Kraken and all that. It's so good. We're finally here. ESPN Plus is killing it, and it's just great. We're finally here. That's all I'm saying. It's great.
Yeah, I'd like to give a huge tip of the cap to the cap that I'm currently wearing, courtesy of the 10,000 Takes Invitational Golf Tournament. Shout out, fellas. How's it going? TNT and ESPN have nailed it through the first week of coverage. The broadcast crew for the TNT broadcasts I think they're calling it the NHL on TNT. I'm not exactly sure because I caught it like as it was already happening. Liam McHugh as the studio host, A+. You've got the panel including Wayne Gretzky and Paul Bissonnette, A+. TNT does the smartest thing that they could do and take one of the most successful portions of the inside the NBA crew in Charles Barkley and incorporate him on the first night of their broadcasts. Genius.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done some things with the TV broadcast that are sensational too. That little circle in the zone that shows the remaining time in the power play. Brilliant.
Yeah,
I love it. It's sensational.
It is. I noticed they also I think the Blackhawks were on the penalty kill, and they had it was like a 5-on-3, and they had the 3 Hawks players connected by a triangle of lines from each other, and it just shows you the how close those players are and how kind of how the penalty kill works to get new viewers into the game. For instance, it's the little things like that. I don't know if I'm too iffy or if I'm too excited with the power play time. I don't know. I feel like that's a super unpopular opinion. But I feel like if you're gonna watch, I don't know. I just feel like the power play time is a lot. 2 minutes is a lot. It kind of feels like a shot clock, and you're kind of just like,
Yeah.
it gets to the more of the shoot the dang puck, shoot the puck, shoot the puck. It kind of just stresses you out looking at the clock on the ice. I don't know. Is that just me? I hope it's not just me.
I'm sure there are
Yeah,
others that share that sentiment. The other thing that I noticed too that really sets it apart from like, and I pick on them a lot because I don't watch them because I don't find what they do very appealing, is like the NFL on Fox. Their halftime, they do like a highlight of the games and just really, really vaguely gloss over like Vikings leading 10
yeah,
to 3 over the Detroit Lions at halftime. Jimmy, your thoughts? Well, Kirk Cousins did all right. He had some good passes, he had some bad passes, but for the Vikings to win this game, they're going to need to continue to run the ball and pass the ball. It's like,
yeah. Really?
what are we getting out of this? Whereas like the NHL crew, they were doing the whole, as you alluded to, like video breakdowns. Like they did one for Alex Ovechkin's first
Mhm.
goal of the night, where they were like, he's kind of camping out on the left side of the zone, just waiting. And then he takes off and they got like an arrow and then they show the pass across. Like that kind of stuff is interesting to me. And it brings way more of a nuance than simply saying, like, Kirk was good. Let's get back to the action. Like, what's the point of even
Yeah.
having a studio crew at that
And
point?
another thing I've noticed with their broadcasts is I'm just watching highlights on the other TV over here, is that there's so many new camera angles almost, and there's always what's it called? Like animations and transitions that are just so
Yep.
pleasing. And it just everything is it's so smooth, and
Yeah.
it really is a step up from NBC. I feel like I've grown up my whole life watching NBC on NHL, and it's just like you just expect that, that's just, but like the fact that ESPN is just like blowing it up and putting panels with Gretzky and all the guys on it, and it's just like not only talking about hockey, but like the best hockey player. Like, are you
Yep.
kidding me? It really is a huge step, and it's way better than I could have ever imagined. So it's really nice, and I love it. And the ESPN thing, like, it's just amazing. I could go on for
Yeah.
days. I could go on for days. So I really could.
Just for those who are Xbox users like me, I'm not sure about PlayStation, although I did manage to snag my brother's PS4 since he got the new PS5. He's like, "Hey, do you want a PS4?" I'm like, "Yeah."
What am I gonna say? No.
So I don't know. I'm anxious to see because theoretically, then if it worked, I could go ESPN Plus off of two devices on two TVs. Um, ESPN Plus allows you to have up to 4 games at once, which is for any level of sports fan. Um, it's incredible, and
It's
so
incredible.
it speaks to. I always felt like NBC felt like having the NHL was just kind of one of those things. Like, okay, another NHL season, but ESPN and TNT, it feels like they legitimately wanted them
Mhm.
and rolled out the red carpet, and it just like we've spent a whole segment talking about it, but I can't stop gushing about what we've seen so far.
It's like it's not a free, but it's a NHL red zone. You can, like, the fact that you can just turn on 4 games and not pay like an extra amount, like an extra charge. But
Yeah,
you just get ESPN Plus. You can get ESPN Plus bundles everywhere. It's just so easy to get, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have it. And they're just it's amazing to see. They're just spreading the game, and it's like we're 2 days in, and we've already seen just so many. I've seen way more games than I would have
yep,
already before, with NBC. Like, it's just crazy. And all the Wild games all through the month of October are all on ESPN Plus. Like, it couldn't get any better. It literally is so easy just to click a couple buttons and turn on a game now. You don't have to go looking for channels and stuff. It's
yeah.
streaming. It's just so much easier. It's on your phone, it's on your computer. Go watch the Wild.
It's the best, and so huge tip of the cap from Locked on Wild to what ESPN and TNT have done so far, and hopefully much more to be unveiled as things go. I did see some people point out that the studio crew was a little choppy at points, but you got to give those guys some time. I think the personalities are all great. Just got to give them a little time to gel and learn the like. We talk about Charles Barkley, Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith, and Shaq. They've
Yeah,
been doing that for years.
years.
So like they know the comedic timing and all of that to a T. Like once those guys get that down, that's going to be a sneaky good studio crew.
Like it's literally
Gretzky's got it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's literally day 2, and everyone's like, "Oh, they don't have it." I mean, it takes a long time to develop those relationships on the mic and off the mic, where you guys can just literally chat about stuff like Doc Emmerich used to do. I mean, goodness,
Yeah.
like those the business for years. Like this is the second day for a lot of these guys, and as partners, and it's just like you got to give them time. I totally believe it. I mean,
Mhm.
they're hired for a reason. They're there for a reason. So. I mean, as the season goes, so does ESPN. It only gets better. I mean, it's so finally good to see, and the NHL is finally going to be able to market and get the name out there, and hopefully a lot of Wild fans will generate. So it'll be sweet.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great time.
Mhm.
Obviously, we can't wait. So just gonna be a blast. We will move to looking at the month of October. We want to kind of go through and see what the Wild realistically could do through the first 8 games of the year. And so that discussion continues next here on Locked On Wild. BetOnline.ag is back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. And as always, BetOnline.ag is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. So head to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive that welcome bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline.ag is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. Continuing today's episode of Locked On Wild. And again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. Just a reminder, we are free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. All you got to do is just hit that search, Locked On Wild. Zach, let's look at the month of October for the Minnesota Wild. 8 games on the slate. And to steal a phrase from the immortal Paul Allen of the Minnesota Vikings, I don't see a loss. I'm, of
No.
course, joking, but it could be a really good start for this team. So let's just break it down kind of by game here of what we've got to start.
Yeah, finally we're out of the like Western teams that we've all been playing last year. Psych, we're going back to California. Psych, yeah, you're not playing Central Division teams right away. But no, in Anaheim, back at the Honda Center, Staples Center. The Ducks won tonight, so they look pretty good. The thing I've noticed out of the Ducks is like a lot of people were like, yeah, no, not the team, not their year. But they like their penalty kill and power play was really good tonight. I took a couple stats on this. I just noticed that like 2 of their 4 power plays hit, and they killed off all 5 penalty kills, at least from when I took the note, which was pretty interesting. That you're like a lot of people don't really expect the Ducks to do a lot of damage, but they look pretty good in game 1. But like I said, it's a first game. We'll deep breath a little bit. Wild still haven't played yet, so I think the Wild. Look, you head back to these 2 teams that you played all of last year. You had winning records against both, and I don't see it changing in the first couple of games. The Wild have a full healthy roster, like almost Matt Boldy, but you know what I mean. This team is good. I'm not that nervous about the first couple of games here. I really do see. Speaking for the whole month of October, at least, I see at least six gimme wins. I mean. We proved it last year. I'm gonna keep going back to it, but you're playing these Western Conference teams for a little bit. I mean, Anaheim, Los Angeles, and you host Anaheim. I mean,
Yeah.
I think those are a lot of wins. I would like to hear what you think.
So I'll point to numbers because if anything, this starts out in the Wild's favor because they're so used to the West Coast swing. Kirill Kaprizov in 8 career games against the Anaheim Ducks, 8 career points, 1 goal, 7 assists. 9 career points in 8 games against the Los Angeles Kings with 6 goals and 3 assists. So 17 points in 16 games for Kirill Kaprizov against those first 2 teams. Yeah, honestly, I mean, yes, Anaheim looked better, but it was a very off night for Connor Hellebuck, who he should be better than
Of course.
he was. So yeah, I would tend to give the edge to the Wild against Anaheim, against Las Vegas. I think in order to beat the Winnipeg Jets, that's going to require like a 2-1 or 1-0, that sort of a game,
Mm-hmm.
um, which the Wild are certainly capable of, and that'll be their home opener. So some extra juice will be flowing throughout the course of that game. So I think that's one as well. Honestly, the only 2 games that really concern me in the first little bit is, of course, Colorado on the road to finish off the month. And then either
Man.
Vancouver or Winnipeg. I mean,
Yeah.
Nashville, let's be honest, they really got lucky last year and they had just that ride of the lightning bolt basically the entire season. And it is real hard to do that 2 years in a row. So, yes,
Yeah.
it's possible, but
Yeah. I mean, I really don't see a lot of hard games. You
no.
have, yeah, I like how you said Colorado. Obviously, we saw what Colorado did with the Blackhawks tonight. They're Colorado. I mean, they are the Cup favorites. Of course, they're going to be a tough game. But let's go back. Okay, so I think here's what we think. I think Talbot starts against Anaheim. I think you
Yep.
rest him against Los Angeles. Put Kakinen in there because Kakinen is good against the Kings. I feel like a lot of goalies can be fine against the Kings. But I
Yes,
think you need Talbot for Winnipeg because
I
Winnipeg,
agree.
you haven't played Winnipeg since like 2 years ago, and we know how like good they are against the Wild. They really do play well against us, like the Blues do. And so I think if you start Talbot at home, it's our first home game, so that'll be great. The fans will get rowdy. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. If that like the Winnipeg game and the Colorado game are the only 2 games we're worried about, and one of them's a home opener, I think the Wild can legit get out of this month with 2 losses.
Yeah.
Like if everything goes well, seriously. Like, you got to give this team some credit. They look great. The Wild have the puzzle pieces. A lot of teams don't have depth. The Wild
Mhm.
have depth. We've seen it. And, like, the prospect pool here is amazing. You could pull up Addison if you need to. There's so many players you can swap in and out with no worries. And I really think the Wild can make a way in this year. I really do. And that's, like, actually unbiased. Like, it actually is because we've just seen it. We've seen it all
Yeah.
offseason. This team can do stuff. It's just if you can, gosh.
Right. It's all about doing it on the ice. Here's what I would do for the goalie splits. I'm right on par with you. I think
Mhm.
you go Talbot to start the season, then Kakinen for the back end of the back-to-back. You go Talbot against Winnipeg on Tuesday. I would go Kakinen on Saturday against Anaheim, and then Talbot against Nashville on Sunday. So Talbot the back end of that back-to-back. And then you could theoretically go Talbot to finish off the month, or you could go Talbot, Kakinen, Talbot, and start Capo on the road at Seattle on that Thursday, the 28th.
Yep.
But you got to have Talbot in net for Colorado.
Colorado, obviously.
I'd like to see him in net for Nashville and Vancouver and Winnipeg too, because I think those are the iffy games. Kakinen has enough of a track record against the Pacific Division teams that you can give him those games early. And, 5-3 split in terms of starts to start off the month is pretty close to what I'd like to see this year. I think if we get 50 from Talbot and 30 from Kakinen, I think we're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, the fact that the goalie tandem aspect of an NHL team is so crucial to have, and I feel like the Wild are going to utilize that to the best of their ability. I actually do like Kakinen against Seattle. I feel like he can make something work. Kakinen's got to prove himself a little bit, and I think he can against these teams in the first month. I think the Wild would be off to a great start. Oh, geez, where do I find wood? Well, you know what I mean. I really do think they're going to be fine. The goalie tandem is there. It's just putting the goalies in the right spot, and I think we hammered it home there. I like that. Yeah.
I'm no GM, but I play one on Twitter. Because honestly, the other thing too with Seattle, offensively, they are not expected to be strong in that area. And so that takes a little pressure off of Capo if you indeed start him in that game. Although Kraken didn't look half bad once they kind of got over the initial nerves of playing in the nut house that is the Vegas home arena.
What an atmosphere, man. I mean, they showed it with 50% capacity against the first couple of games against the Wild in the first round of the playoffs last year. But my goodness, they're still going hard. That's like a circus in there every pregame. It's crazy.
It's bad. It's bad when the play-by-play guys are like yelling because it's impacting them. Yeah, that place is a circus, but in a good way. We like the chaos.
We're there. It's Vegas.
We are locked on chaos. I guess. So
there's total rebrand.
Yeah.
Let's get like purple and pink on these lights up here, and we'll be good. Locked on chaos.
Locked on NHL season chaos. I like it. Tell you what, let's finish up today with just some general concerns, things that we aren't sure about heading into the season, as this is kind of one of our final tune-ups before the season actually gets underway. So we will do that. Lots more to chat with Zach Zeman about on today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning, like is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? I have no idea. And why wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Plus, you can save money with Rock Auto and time. Why choose to spend up to 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? RockAuto.com is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and RockAuto.com's prices are reliably low for every customer. So head to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure to write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. All at rockauto.com. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. And in the case of 2-a-days week, your second listen as well. Seth Topol hanging out with Zach Zeman. And Zach, final concerns. This is the final dress rehearsal before the real thing. Friday's game counts. And so not a bad idea to just rehash some of the things that we maybe aren't super settled about heading into the season. And so I know one of the ones that I'm real curious to see play out is that third defensive pairing. I mean, it could be fine, but it also could be a bit of a problem for the Wild. I have really no idea what to expect. What do you think? Do we see a little something from those guys, or is Kalen Addison going to be up here sooner than later to try to help plug that?
I would love to give it a couple games or so. I think we really need to see, when these games matter, like, hey, you're going into a regular season game. Let's show up. I think these guys have something to prove. Addison is there. Addison's on the call. He's like the on deck circle right now. I mean, easy. You could just easily pull players and put them in. You know how it goes. I'd say we got to give it a couple days. Have to see how the mojo's feeling and how each pairing kind of like relates with one another. I think we've seen that enough in preseason, but you know what I mean. Just when the games matter, see how much they really click with each other. Let's give it a couple games. Let's see what happens, and we'll come back to it. But yeah, that is also what I'm pretty nervous about is the defensive side. I mean, we see what Dean Evison and Billy G have put this team back on the the offensive side more than they usually were in the defense. But yeah, it's gonna be fine. I think we'll be fine, but we'll get there.
Yeah, it's all a matter of I'm not asking for these guys to like have standout performances because I think that was one of the things that really was most endearing about that third line is that we didn't need them to go out there and go nuts. We just needed them to do what they needed to do without, without even really having to call their name, honestly. It was a situation where the less we heard their names on the ice, the better they were doing. And so if Kulikov and John Merrill or if it's Jordy Ben, if those three can play at a level to where we just simply don't hear their names all that often, we'll be fine. But yeah, that's one of the areas I have concerns. The other is the third line. And Kevin Fiala is going to have to be patient because I have no idea what to expect here. You've got Fiala, you've got probably Freddie Gaudreau, maybe Victor Rask, maybe Rem Pitlick. I don't know what do you do? What do you do with a line with one of your better players in which the other two spots are complete wild cards heading into the season? I have no idea.
No, I don't know what you do with that. I'm not a GM. It's just gonna happen. Like we saw what Kirill and Rask were like last year. You're gonna have that. You're gonna have to have that almost if you're gonna make the lines they are right now. You're gonna have to deal with those, those players who don't, are on different levels. That's just how it works, and it's all about just managing that. And I think the Wild are so like I don't know, elusive. I don't even know what I'm saying here, but whoops, sorry. I'm still learning. I'm still in college. No, I'm kidding. But I think you can still swap players normally than a lot of other teams can. There's still area for movement. These players are never just you are a line one guarantee. You don't move here. Like a lot of these players, I feel like are movable, and I think that's the greatest thing about this team. Is that you don't necessarily have to pencil in and mark down your lines. There's so much room for changes, and I think they're just going to be fine. We just need to see a couple games. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you work from there. It'll take time. Like I said, the first couple games don't matter. Every team is in this position where you're like, well, let's throw out here's our opening day roster. Like, have you ever seen an opening day roster the same as the final? You know what I mean? Like obviously not. It's all about, just give it time. I think the Wild are okay right now, and I think the roster looks fine. We saw obviously they want to bring Rem Pitlick in here, so we'll see what he does, and it's going to be fine. I think there's room for movement, and that's the best thing that a franchise can have.
Yep. Yeah. You played into this without us discussing it prior perfectly into what I was going to finish the episode with, which was we can't panic if we have what happened to the Chicago Blackhawks, where you lose a game 4-2, you give up 3 goals in the first 10 minutes of the game, and people are like, oh my God, this is a disaster. Fleury is trash. Like, look what happened to Connor Hellebuyck. He gave up 4 goals. Do you think Winnipeg is going to, hit the panic button and jettison all the escape pods? No, we cannot, within the first handful of games, go to the reactionary side of things where it's like, this has to change. This has to change. This has to change. This has to change. Because as you said, so many of these parts are interchangeable to where maybe Dean Evison tries Kevin Fiala on the same line as Kirill Kaprizov. Maybe we get the bottom six completely shuffled around. Maybe the second line ends up changing a little bit. Dean Evison has the keys. Bill Guerin trusts him fully. I trust them both fully. And so we just have to let the first couple of games of the season play out and see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm raw. We're on that train till I die. I'm all for it. And it kind of goes both ways. I just want to add on to that. It kind of goes both ways. Like, you know, that Mason McTavish guy who scored for the Ducks says 18 years old, 256 days. He's like 18 years, 256 days. Like, even if you score that goal, like, you could easily get moved out too. Like, it goes both ways.
Right.
You have really successful players in the first game. Like, Jari played well. Jari is like, for the Penguins, we're talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins. You know, like Tristan Jari, like, dude, a lot of people don't really like, you know, support him almost. You know, so it's like he can, you know, people have good and bad games. It's game one. It's gonna be fine. Marc-Andre Fleury is a top tier goaltender. It just is hard to play behind the Blackhawks defensive core. It just is. That's just how it's gonna go. And you just got to give it more time. Wait till you go home in United Center for a little bit, and then we'll see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Relax.
100%. The final theme of this episode, at the end of the day, let's not panic after the first couple of games of the season, because as we alluded to, this Wild team could very easily be 6-2 through the month of October. And, you know, I kind of went through and looked at the months of the season by opponent winning percentage from last year. October gives them a good chance to get off to a good start. November is going to be a little bit tricky, but the winning percentage of teams that they're going to play at home from last year is a cakewalk. Mm-hmm. So let the season play out. Wild could very easily be 6-2 at the end of October. If catastrophic things happen to start the year, or we see that after the first week, 2 weeks, month, then yes, we will dissect. And of course, we'll dissect everything from every angle along the way as well. But the overall arcing theme of Locked On Wild through this season is going to be, don't panic. We are going to be fine. This team's going to make the playoffs. It's a good roster. And so we just get to sit back and enjoy the ride.
Bingo. You hit it home right there. That's it.
Yeah.
Cut it.
Okay. That is exactly where we're going to cut it for today. Yeah, so thank you for listening to now episode 8 of the week. Another full day of two-a-days. We got some good stuff to finish off the week too. Don't worry. So make sure that you are following Locked On Wild wherever you listen to podcasts. Now that your first and second listens of the day are done. And again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first choice of the day. Head over to Locked On NHL. Games are in progress. When you're listening to this, games have already happened. Games will happen. Best place to get a recap of everything going on throughout the NHL is the Locked On NHL podcast. So make sure to make that your second listen of the day. Make sure to follow Locked On Wild and the craziness that's about to ensue everywhere on our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure to follow the YouTube channel. Got a lot of great content coming there as well. Basically, if you search Locked On Wild and you see an option to follow or subscribe, do it, because we are going to keep you as up to date as possible on everything going on with the Minnesota Wild all season long, with content and features, social media, blitzes, you name it, we've got it. And you can find new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.